These days, automotive manufacturers are scrambling to take their share of the EV pie. They're making EVs for every niche. Two such EVs are this 2026 Nissan Leaf, an icon of affordable electric cars now in its third generation. And this, the 2026 Kia EV4, the compact sibling of the EV6, which is the car that made everyone realize that Kia meant business. So one is the familiar nameplate, and the other is the newcomer with plenty to prove. Let's start with the Leaf. For 15 years, the Leaf was the automotive equivalent of a beige cardigan. It was sensible, it was reliable, and it was deeply boring. But look at it now. Nissan has thrown away the Dorkmobile hatchback look for a crossover coupe silhouette. It's got flush door handles, holographic looking headlights, and a drag coefficient of just 0.26. It's actually cool. And then we have the Kia. It is a sedan, technically, but with that low nose and long, fastback style tail, it looks like as though it's doing 200 kilometers an hour even when it's standing still. It's a very polarizing design. Some will like it, others will say that it was designed by someone with only a ruler. Okay, let's get to the important bits now. The new Leaf gets a sizable bump in power compared to the old one. It now has 214 horsepower and 261 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in the old one used to be measured with a calendar. But in this new one, it takes about 7.5 seconds. I know it's still not Tesla fast, but it's just fast enough to annoy that BMW or Audi driver next to you when you're setting off from a stoplight. The Nissan Leaf comes with a 75 kilowatt-hour battery pack. Nissan claims up to 488 kilometers of range in the standard S Plus trim, while this SV Plus trim gets 463 kilometers. The top spec Platinum Plus is the worst of the three with 417 kilometers of range. But even so, the older Leafs would only dream of driving ranges like this. The Leaf finally gets a more modern charge port in the shape of the NACS plug. So that means you can charge up your Leaf at any Tesla supercharger. In the past, owning a Leaf meant that you were part of a secret group that knew where the one and only working CHAdeMO charger was. But now, you're part of the master race. As for charging rates and times, the Leaf can accept up to 150 kilowatts, which is not fast, but it's fast enough to charge the battery from 10% to 80% in about 35 minutes. On the other side of the car is a standard J1772 port, and there's a 7.2 kilowatt onboard charger for level 2 charging, which will take 6 to 8 hours to fully recharge a car that way. Now driving the Kia EV4, it has to make do with just 201 horsepower and 209 pound-feet of torque. You can feel that it doesn't have the same punchy acceleration as the Nissan Leaf, but it does make up for it when the roads get interesting. The Nissan Leaf doesn't feel particularly sporty around turns. It definitely feels more mature than the outgoing model, but it's the Kia EV4 that has a playful demeanor. The steering is sharper, body roll is reduced, and with a low-slung battery pack, it is enjoyable on twisty roads. It feels like Kia made an EV for people who actually like driving. Speaking of the battery, the Kia EV4 will be available with two of them right from the start. The base trim will get the smaller 58.3 kilowatt-hour battery pack, while the other trims will get the larger 81.4 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which is good for a little over 550 kilometers of range. As for regenerative braking, the Nissan Leaf pioneered the one-pedal mode with their e-step. At the push of a button, all you have to do is lift your foot off the accelerator pedal, and the car almost comes to a stop. Unfortunately, you still have to put your foot on the brake pedal to come to a complete stop. Additionally, in this e-step mode, the brake pedal moves on its own, like as though a ghost is trying to anticipate your next move. It's very annoying, and I really wish that it didn't move on its own. But if you leave e-step off, you can use the paddles on the steering wheel to change the amount of regenerative braking force. However, you can't use maximum or even a mid-level regen setting if the battery is over 70% solar charged. It needs to get very depleted before the car allows you to use the higher regen levels. On top of that, while the brake pedal doesn't move on its own in this mode, it doesn't feel great to step on. It's a light and vague feeling. The Kia also has steering wheel mounted paddles that allow you to change the different regen modes. You can basically go from no regen braking to a full one pedal mode, and it is a true one pedal mode. It will bring the car to a complete stop. Best of all, the brake pedal doesn't move on its own in that one pedal mode, and you can have almost a fully charged battery and still use the higher regen modes. There's also the auto regen mode. It uses radar to see the car in front, and if they slow down, then the Kia will automatically ramp up the regen force to maintain the gap. It's like having a co-pilot who's obsessed with efficiency. Plus, it remembers your setting when you turn the car back on after you've turned it off. On the comfort side, the Nissan Leaf offers more of it. The ride feels softer and the suspension better absorbs potholes. In the Kia EV4, it's not uncomfortable, but the ride does feel stiffer. I guess that's a trade-off of having better driving dynamics. It's a similar story when it comes to cabin noise. According to my cheap Decibel app on my phone, the Leaf is just a little bit quieter on a highway than the EV4 is. Inside, the Leaf is a bit of a mixed bag. You get these giant 14.3-inch screens. On the lower end trims, they are a little bit smaller. And you also get these brilliant zero-gravity seats, which are very comfortable. However, there are capacitive touch controls right underneath the main infotainment touchscreen for the climate as well as the heated seats, and I do find those a little bit distracting to use while driving. There are a few physical controls right between the two main air vents, and there is a push-button style PR&D drive selector, which I know is not to everyone's taste. In the back though, it is, well, a bit more Victorian back there, because this new Leaf has actually shrunk in size, so you get less legroom in those back seats compared to the previous generation. So it's fine for little kids and perhaps people that you don't like so much. Cargo capacity behind the seats has also shrunk to 566 liters from the previous generation. But fold those rear seats down and the new Leaf has more space than before, up to 1,572 liters. The Kia is basically the same on the inside as the Nissan Leaf. There's two screens, both of which measure 12.3 inches. There are capacitive touch controls right underneath the main infotainment touchscreen, but these ones are much harder to see in sunlight. There are physical climate controls further underneath those, and there is plenty of storage space in between the two front seats. As for interior space, you do get a little bit more of it here in this EV4 compared to the Leaf. So in these front seats, there's plenty of legroom for my 6'4" height, and also sitting behind my tall driving position, I really can't complain with legroom in the back. Headroom though is an issue in this car. As you can see, I have much less headroom in this EV4 compared to the Leaf, and this seat is at its lowest position. And it's the same story in the back seats. My hair is actually touching up against the headliner. But the trade-off is that the trunk can't accommodate as much cargo as the Nissan Leaf. The EV4 can only store up to 408 liters of cargo behind the rear seats and up to 1,415 liters with the rear seats folded. Additionally, neither of these cars have frunks and neither of them have spare wheels, just tire repair kits. When it comes to tech and convenience, both are available with broadly the same features, but they are of course packaged differently between the two models and the different trim levels. So for example, they're both available with heated front seats, heated steering wheels, wireless phone charging pads, rain sensing wipers, and so on. The differences include things like optional ventilated front seats in this EV4, whereas the Nissan Leaf is available with a head-up display. As for the infotainment systems, the Nissan's does allow for a certain degree of customizability with the different widgets being available on the home screen, but it isn't quite as polished as the infotainment in the Kia. The EV4 system also looks better in my eyes and is easier to navigate around. So what will you be paying for these new electric cars? Well, the 2026 Nissan Leaf starts at a smidge under $45,000 Canadian, with this SV Plus trim costing an additional $2,000 Canadian. The Kia EV4 starts at $38,995 Canadian, with this top spec GT line limited trim costing just under $52,000 Canadian, whereas the top spec version of the Nissan Leaf is another roughly $1,000 Canadian more than this one. Both of these EVs prove how far we've come since the early days of electric motoring. The Leaf is honest, practical, and friendly. It's the most normal EV ever made. But the Kia EV4, that feels like next generation. So if you want to feel like as though you're living in the future, buy the Kia. But if you just want a sensible EV, buy the Nissan. Personally, I'm leaning a little bit more towards this Kia EV4. What about you? Which one would you pick? And if you'd like to know more about either of these two EVs, I have a more detailed comparison review of them over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car, truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one.